What episode's this?
20-something.
Hi guys, welcome back to episode 20-something of the podcast, where we talk to Ribsy, best dude in the world. That's it. Just listen. Drum roll, please. What a guy.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, probably one of my favourite podcasts we've recorded. I mean, we love everyone. Don't get me wrong, but he's so energetic. You can really see that he's dedicated to anything he puts his mind to, and he's just generally a cool dude. Do you know what I mean? He's someone that I want to hang around with, go to the pub and have a beer with, and just listen to him, listen to his stories, listen to what he's got going on. And he's very talented as well.
Well, what did we talk to him about? Instagram a bit. I didn't realise he started his YouTube channel last year.
Yeah, fair play. He's done very well in that year, hasn't
he? Yeah, it's because I think, because he's so engaging. It's so he's just interesting to watch, and I can see exactly why his channel's growing so quickly.
He's very likable, but also his work reflects that as well. Like, he's not putting anything on for show. Do you know what I mean? Like, he is being 100% himself.
Yeah.
And that is amazing to have, to be like that as a character. Like, he's just a very likable person.
Yeah, it's a good episode. Also, it's a really long episode, so we should probably get on with it.
And if you do like it, drop a like, subscribe, and that's it. Hit the notification bell. There you go, I remembered. Drum roll, please. So yeah, start off. Tell us who you are. Tell us how you got into photography. When did you get into photography? You're an awesome photographer. We want to know.
All good. Well, what's good? I'm Ribsy, Eric, whatever you want to call me, somewhere in between. But on Instagram and YouTube, I'm Ribsy. I've been doing photography for a minute at this point. Photography generally started for me maybe 10 years ago. And the reason I started doing photography was because so as you might see on Instagram, I'm an avid cook. I do a lot of delicious things. And there was a point in time where I was really is the way I'm with photography now, but with food. So I was learning all these things and trying to emulate these things I would eat and see. And anyways, I started a blog, and I was like, shit, well, phone cameras. I mean, think about 10 years ago what a phone camera was. It was trash. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I need to buy a real camera, whatever that means. And I knew nothing, but I don't even know why I decided to, or who helped me, but I bought a Canon T3i, and all I knew is that it costs, $800 or something, with the kit lens. And yeah, I was like, all right, I guess now this is photography. And through taking photos for the blog, I started to actually get more interested in the photography aspect. I was doing very simple stuff. I had a kit lens, so I would zoom in all the way and shoot it wide open at 5.6 or whatever it had. And that looks pretty cool when you zoom into let's say, I think it was I don't know, 55 millimeter was the long end of it, and the short end was probably 24 or something. I don't even know. But you zoom in at 55, 5.6, and you get up close to your food, and I think it had macro capabilities too. So you get all this bokeh, and it just looked great. And I was like, damn, this looks legit.
Dropping off the pizza or whatever.
Exactly. I mean, that was before it was super big on Instagram. So I hadn't seen other people's photography that much. So I didn't know, the tricks and the cool shots. But either way, that got me into photography. And then I started watching things on YouTube. I started learning about Flash, and I went down that entire rabbit hole. I went to some in-person, I don't know what you call them, training seminars, whatever you want, with the local celebrity photographers. And yeah, that's how I got into photography. That lasted for, I mean, it's still the case, but the digital only aspect was probably a good 7 years. Yeah. And of course I kept getting deeper and deeper into digital, ending up, I think my last big time purchase digital camera was, actually that's wrong. My last big purchase was my Canon EOS R, which I still use now. That's what I record my YouTube videos on. But when I was doing photography heavy digital only, it was the Canon, 5D Mark III. And I bought it off of a coworker who was upgrading to the 4, and I was like, oh my god, I have a 5D3 now. This is crazy. But that's how I got my chops. That's how I learned a lot of what I knew about photography before anything film came into the picture.
Yeah. And do you think So would you say that you've got quite like an addictive personality in terms of like the things that you like? Because, you know, obviously you was heavy into your food, or, you know, kind of documenting, starting the blog and doing that. And then all of a sudden you've got this new thing and, you know, you can't help but kind of spiraled into it. I know I'm like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, anything I do, it's like, I've got to go all in, or else I don't feel like I'm really committed. Do you know what I mean?
No, I totally feel you. I've never thought about it as addictive, but that could be one of the words you can use. But I do like to like dive head first, and you know, it can manifest in like buying shit. It can manifest in just like watching every video that exists. It can manifest in learning, you know, different pieces of that all kind of come together. And I typically will go real hard in something. And usually I'll know within like a week or two, like if this is going to stick. And I've done all kinds of different things this way. And you know what it is like? Life is, without getting philosophical, like life is like kind of limitless. You can just, we live, especially everyone here, we all live in countries that have all these resources, and we've got everything we could possibly need to do whatever we want. So why not explore and see what happens? The worst thing that could happen is maybe you lose some money, depending on how deep you go in. So anyways, that's how I've done a lot of different things. And cooking has a very low entry barrier. You know, you don't really need too much to get started. And then money wise, like, you know, we spend $50 on like some fancy ingredients, and if you ruin it, you wasted $50. With the camera, you don't really waste it because you can buy all this gear and then sell it if you really want. So I think those were easy ones to like not feel like I've wasted time, because you know, you jump in, you do the bare minimum, you're like, okay, that's cool. You can always pause and come back again. With other kinds of activities, it might be a little bit harder depending on, you know, what those activities entail. So I definitely, I think I'm similar to you, but these two, they stuck real fast, and I think it's because they actually kind of reinforced each other. They went hand in hand. And then I started posting shit on Facebook. This one, Facebook was hot. I don't know if y'all use Facebook, but I don't touch Facebook basically at all. And you know, people were like, "Oh man, this stuff looks great." I had a blog on blogspot.com, which yeah. And like, you know, I had metrics, and I think at one point I had like 25,000 total like page views or something, and I was like, "Holy shit!" So it was invigorating. I like metrics. I like numbers, not so much for like, you know, reveling in them, but to kind of include them as part of the understanding of your progress, like next to your skills and stuff.
I can resonate with that, because like for me, like I like my day job, I work with numbers, and figures and spreadsheets, but for me, like I quite like that, because I like looking for patterns. I like looking for, do you know what I mean? Like the similarities. I don't necessarily look at like the math side of it. It's more of the finding the pattern, seeing what works well, working out what I can do to improve on that, and getting rid of what doesn't work. And I don't know.
What is your day job?
I work in finance, but announcement. I've actually I'm last day on Friday.
Oh, okay.
By the time this goes out, I'll be homeless, unemployed. I'm
homeless.
No, I've got a new job, but
nice.
Yeah, but for me, it was just more like a work-life balance thing. You know? And then obviously starting front as well, we want to make sure that,
of course,
we're giving everything we can with that as well. So for me, it was time to leave. But you know, I still work within that kind of industry, I guess. But I can really resonate with what you're saying in terms of you know, not being scared by numbers, should we say?
No, I think YouTube was without realizing it beforehand, I think YouTube was going to be like, or it became like an obvious kind of thing that I would do, just because it is this beautiful kind of mess of you have all the numbers stuff which has to do with views and users and also money, you know, once you start getting paid. But then the other side of it is the creative aspect. Like, you know, you can literally do whatever you want. So for me, especially now, there's this like interesting, before it was attention in terms of like, what am I going to create that also kind of yields some numbers? But then now it's more of like you know, how far can I stray from the formula while not completely destroying like my potential for numbers? The philosophy's changed a bit, but it's still this play between the two. And yeah, no, I like it. I wouldn't say I'm a numbers guy per se. Generally, I work in advertising on the technology side, so numbers matter, but it's more about like, are we making enough money? Like, we're not making enough money. What's going on? So it's not that interesting. But yeah, the numbers thing, like, you know, is very interesting. And if I think about like food, for example, we go back. Everything goes back to food with me. Now that I think about it, there's no numbers in my kind of expression when it comes to food. Literally none. Like I don't put food content out for the sake of numbers.
Yeah.
I don't even really create food content. I just take a snapshot and it's like, here's what I made.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the nice thing about that aspect. Like I have one interest that's completely irrelevant to numbers. Photography shouldn't be tied to numbers, but you know, for me it is. I'm not some like artistic, like, you know, went to photography school or I'm respected as some like incredible photographer. I'm an internet YouTube like personality photographer, man, whatever you want to call it.
That's the beauty of it, right? Like, like photography is so vast and different. No two photographers are the same. Do you know
exactly.
what I mean? So
yeah.
Why should that matter? What you're into and what you're not into? You can't help but like what you're saying. And then going back to what you were saying as well about, you know, pushing the limits and the boundaries of what works.
Yeah.
People by people, right? So at the start, you've got to find your kind of niche, if you like, or you've got to grow a bit of a following.
Exactly.
People are still watching your shit now.
Yeah.
They like you, so they will let you do that thing. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Whatever that new thing might be, which that's what me and Luke are trying to do. That's what we've got to find our niche, and
exactly.
You know, we'll see what happens, but it's exciting though. If you enjoy it.
Oh yeah, it's super exciting. I think now because I have a following, I can afford to take more risks and to try to do stuff that like I genuinely want to do.
Yeah.
I don't have to like rely on you know, gear or that kind of stuff to like attract eyeballs. And I still do that because it obviously matters to me. Not the attracting the eyeballs, but the gear. You know, if I buy a new camera, I want people to see me learning how I'd use it, you know? Exactly. But now, I mean, I'm gonna plug it real quick, but my Feasting on Film series, that's my new thing. And like it's opened up this whole new creative side to me where, you know, photography is still the root of it, but now food is a kind of equal part of this. And you know, I get to kind of try to create my own little fake internet TV show kind of thing. It's really exciting. And you know, YouTube is a perfect place to trial these things because again, you have your following that will just be like, hey, what is he doing? I gotta go check that out. And it's the internet. Like there's no consequences. If you watch it and don't like it, I still get paid. You know what I mean? So especially if you comment and tell me you don't like it, that helps.
That's even better, isn't it? Because if you're getting genuine feedback, you know what's going to work and not work. And if you've already got that following, then people are going to say, Ribs, what you doing, mate? Like this for me. But they might go, fuck yeah, this is awesome. So then you know what works.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to see where that goes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of like with Jason, Grainy Days, he's gotten to the point now of just putting like 90-minute videos out.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's awesome. It's so good. And he couldn't have done that a while ago. And now he's said he's kind of going to do more of these and less of the 10-minute kind of thing. So I'm like, that's amazing. But is that kind of cannibalizing a bit of like his fan base or whatever? I guess he'll see. But I think it's amazing. And it's great that he gets to try that sort of thing out.
That last video that he brought out that was, you know, 90 minutes or whatever of him traveling wherever he was. Like I said to Luke, I was like, I would watch this 20-minute episodes for the next 2 months. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he financially would make more money from that, right? Because people would be going into this like mini series. But he just dropped it in one big video, which fair play to him. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. No, you're. I think that's what people like the most about social media is you're in full control, and that could be a bad thing, you know, if you're trying to portray like some fake image. But if you're being yourself, like. It's honestly, it almost feels freeing once you're like, yeah, I can do whatever I want, especially after you've grown to a certain bit. So yeah, I mean, if he wants to do one video every month, maybe that fits his work schedule. Maybe that, you know, it's just less work or maybe he thinks that's more powerful. Whatever the reason is, he can do whatever he wants. Yeah. And that is a fantastic thing.
Yeah. No, I get that. And I think it's good as well because without getting too deep again, like the world is changing. Like, I have nights now where I'll watch YouTube over TV. Like, I mean, because, like, you know, especially if like my missus goes to bed, if she goes to bed a couple of hours before me, I don't know, I always go to bed later and get up early. Then it's just like, I will just fall into that YouTube spiral. Do you know what I mean? And I'll be watching those recommended videos, and then all of a sudden I'll find a new channel. And I'm like, yeah, I'll subscribe because I want to see that for the rest of my life. Do you know what I mean? Get invested. Do you know what I mean? So like I stumbled across your channel. I was like, hell yeah! Now I'm looking forward. Like then you start to get used to the people that you're following when they're going to drop new videos. So I understand the kind of scheduling part. So it is good, isn't it?
It's fun. It has become a little job at this point, not from the pay perspective, but from the time perspective. And I feel a duty to myself first and foremost, because I know I like this, and I know I enjoy the process of doing photography and then creating content around the doing photography. So considering how I know that I enjoy this and how it gives me like some satisfaction, I feel like I should do it, you know?
Yeah.
And there are times where it feels more like a job where I'm like, damn, like I really don't want to do this right now. But I know that, you know, I'll enjoy the result. And also now I feel like people like watching it. And it's almost like I have a duty to them to like entertain them for those 10 minutes, you know, a week or something. And I've decreased my output because part of my strategy in the first year was, you know, volume. Like we all know how the internet works. Things are seen and they're forgotten pretty quick. So you have to hit the refresh button every single, you know, as much as you can to get in front of people. So I made, I don't know the exact number, but it was between 80 and 100 videos from February of 2010. So right before the pandemic, that's when I started, all the way until, let's say, February of this year. That's a lot of videos, sometimes 3 a week. And that was the strategy. Now the strategy has shifted. Now that I've built up a base, I'm doing fewer videos, still a decent amount, like 6 videos in a month. Like that's more than I would say any larger YouTube photography person. And
your videos as well, just so you know, if you don't follow Ribsy on YouTube, definitely go and check out his channel. But your videos are always about something as well.
Exactly.
You know, you get these influencers that will kind of just vlog their life every day, which I can understand. Throwing a video out every day for that kind of thing is easier. But when you've got a subject or something that you're kind of reviewing or talking about or discussing within that video, that takes time.
Of course.
So it's not just like you can't just go, oh, I'm going to go film a video today, because something might take you longer. So I'm guessing you're constantly juggling a few different projects on at any one time.
Yeah. Anytime. I mean, this is kind of the good and bad thing of it now. Like if I'm going on holiday, you know, I a couple of days before, and I'm deciding, all right, well, what film do I want to shoot? What camera do I want to bring? Not for my own enjoyment, but more for the content that I think I should make out of it. The other question is like, should I even bother making content for anything? Like I just went to France this weekend, and I was like, the original plan was to do potentially a feasting on film thing. And then literally the moment I got to France, I was like, I'm not doing any of this shit. Like, I'm just going to chill. I'm going to take photos just because I feel like it. And, you know, whatever happens, happens. And I didn't do anything. And I don't believe any content's going to come out of it. Maybe like an Instagram reel or something small, chill. But yeah, like there's planning involved. No question about it. And I don't think my life's interesting enough where people would just watch what I'm doing on a daily basis. So
well, I always think that, because when I see these like content creators that are putting out like vlogs every day and stuff. I always sit there now, especially now we've made a couple of videos ourselves and we do the podcast. Luke does the podcast, but now we're making videos and stuff like that. I always think these vloggers that are like, their days aren't like that. They must spend half the day in front of their laptop editing, which is fair play, because do you know what I mean? It's not like
of course
start at 9 and finish at 5. It's, you know, that's a long time, you know, to capture all the like the photos and edit the actual video, then do the uploading, then do all the social media that goes with that. It's a full-time job. Do you know what I mean?
Of course. No, and if you make it to that level, you know, people genuinely are interested in the random stuff you do on a daily basis, even if the video has 0 point to it. Like, you know, a fraction of your subscriber. If you have 500,000 subscribers, like, there will be 10,000 people who would just going to watch your thing because it's you. They don't care what you're doing. They're just like, oh yeah, I like that person, and they're good looking, or they're rich, or I think they're funny, or whatever the case is. And they'll watch it. So the internet's an interesting place, but you know, what I've learned is who are we to kind of decide what has value and what doesn't? Because theoretically it all has value. The question is, you know, how far can you scale it or spread it?
Yeah. Well, if you don't, and at the end of the day, if you don't like it, don't watch it. The option is still yours, right?
Exactly.
But you touched upon something that I was actually going to ask you. So, you know, you said about going to France, or let's just use that for an example.
Yeah.
You know, in your head, you're like, I'm going now. I need to make, you know, I need to create content. I need to make a video out of it. Do you ever get to the point where you feel like you're not taking photographs just because you like taking photographs? Do you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
Like, do you always feel like, or do you ever feel like a sense of guilt if you go out to take photographs for no other reason that you just feel like you just want to go out and shoot? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I totally feel you. I think for the most part, if I'm gonna go out, it's because I want to. If I don't really feel like doing anything, then perhaps I'll create content that doesn't require me to go out and shoot. Because that's the beauty of it. There's so many different types of things I can do. So yeah, I never shoot unless I actually want to. There's so many things where it would be a no-brainer for me to bring a camera and document, but I was just like, yeah, I don't feel like it, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
So at the bare minimum, I would say no. I don't ever just do the photography just because I feel like I have to. There are times though that I'll capture certain types of things just because I'm like, all right, like this is gonna fit what I'm trying to talk about later, so let's do that. Or if I'm like, I don't know, I think I once was doing a bunch of like cross-processing stuff in the darkroom, and like once I was out there taking photos for that particular video, I was just, capturing like random stuff that I thought would help me convey my point, even though the images themselves are not images that I cared about. But I hopefully in those sessions still also just like did the stuff that I actually like to do. But I just have a lot of different interests with photography. It's hard for me to sit still with any particular style. Like I love portraiture. Portraiture is the one thing I will never do without actually wanting to do it, because it involves, human communication, and it's not just like random. Street photography, I love doing that. That's a lot of fun, and it's almost a game for me. It's like you're kind of chasing you're almost chasing scenarios. You're being very vigilant and like eyes wide open, trying to digest what's going on around you. But it's also reactionary because you can't really control it. You can control some things per se, but you're just kind of like seeing what's there.
There's
but
also
then
a look involved with street photography, isn't there?
Because, of course, yeah.
Right place, right time. But is that planned? No, that's the whole point. Well, that's what I like about street photography.
Yeah.
You're capturing something that happens.
Yeah,
that is random. Do you know what I mean? And then you get to document it in your own way.
There's definitely an agency involved, especially like if you have a style or if you have a specific technique or a subject matter. But you're right. Like there's a big element of it that like you can't decide exactly. But I think my favorite style of photography is actually the travel stuff, where I go somewhere brand new and I just have a camera or two, and I'm just like enjoying myself, living as if I'm not doing photography, but also when the moment presents itself, I'm like, oh hell yeah, this is cool. Let me take some photos. It's a beautiful blend of like the most casual way of doing photography with my normal life. I'm not out there being a photographer. I'm out there just enjoying my vacation, and I have my camera there just in case. It's like when the way people use their iPhone, I would use my film camera when I'm on a holiday. It's not like you're not being super. It's not extremely intentional. It's just more of like and I wouldn't even say it's reactionary. It's just enjoyment. Like you're taking photos because you're enjoying yourself in that moment, and the photography like makes sense as part of it.
It doesn't become like invasive to what you're doing.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of the thing. Like we went to the Isle of Wight a few weeks ago.
Nice.
And I had your film in the show, like the kind of disposable, reusable thingy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so light. I had it hanging around my neck the entire week. I was going to shoot portrait on a Canon P, which is like quite heavy.
Yeah.
And it was overcast the whole week. So I was like, no, I'm shooting black and white. And in that, I thought it's perfect. And it was just there. And you were just taking like holiday photos. But
exactly.
But yeah, on film, it's perfect.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people enjoy that. And it's just as beautiful. Travel is such an amazing thing for a lot of reasons. And I think as a photographer, travel is amazing because it's what better excuse do you need to do photography than being somewhere new? The only problem with film is that, film is not as cheap as digital. I mean, people can argue about that all day long. I'm not even going to start that argument. But my point is you don't have to buy film, to go do digital photography if you already have your phone or your mirrorless.
The sense of reward, though, isn't it, when you shoot?
Oh no question about it. We glorify it, we like romanticize it, but there's something real there, and I think you know what? I honestly think it's the delayed gratification.
Oh, sure.
Really, like you're just doing the photography without seeing the result, and that's it. So you can enjoy all of it for what it is.
How confident you are at taking a photo as well. You still press that shutter button and you go, he's come out because that's going to be the best one yet. You know what I mean? Like we were talking about this, Luke, weren't we? Because we were saying how we'd love a digital camera that doesn't have a screen and doesn't let you upload a photo for 24 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it literally locks your file and then you have to go back after 24 hours to see it.
Yeah, and it tells you can set 36 shots, you can do a countdown, it would be perfect. But that's we were saying about it before, but it's got to be like the Fuji X Pro 4 would be the perfect camera for them to build it into that, no back on it, all that stuff. It's like
it's going back in time in terms of technology, isn't it? Like what company is going to promote that their camera now doesn't let you see your photos, but only take 36 shots before you can go home, or do you know what I mean? Whatever it might be.
That's like a super niche because the addressable market there is film photographers, but then it's the film photographers that like don't want to always shoot film but still feel like they're doing it. Like you really shrink the base there. Exactly. Yeah. No, I was thinking about that because there's some other things that I'm considering for the YouTube channel. I think one of the things I want to do is incorporate digital photography into it, not for the sake of just like, you know, the new A7R15 is out. Like, let me get everybody's attention who's searching for that. I mean, more about like kind of the comparison between film and digital in every way. The images, the experience of using the cameras, the style of cameras. There's a lot of digital cameras that are actually like, you know, from an experience perspective, I feel like they kind of mirror very closely the experience of shooting shooting film. And like you mentioned, the Fuji, I don't know the Fuji nomenclature very well, but I know that they're like the rangefinder cameras they have, you know, they already have film simulations, which that might be the least interesting part, honestly, in my opinion. But with these cameras, you can turn off the screen. You can also, you know, you can use a tiny memory card if you want, like a 2 gig memory card that gives you 30 photos. You can, you know, some of these, you can use manual lenses with all these cameras. So take autofocus out of the mix. And I mean, if you want to shoot full manual and also use a light meter, which I think would be ridiculous, you can do that too. You know, I'm curious about experimenting using these cameras, but in the most analog way possible. And then seeing how it feels. And then of course you got to compare the images because you know, that obviously matters.
That's it.
That's what I'm playing around with because I've got the X Pro 2 and the Canon P, and they look so similar to the point that like sometimes my wife, when I take one out, will ask, "Oh, have you bought a film camera today?" Or the digital one. And at the moment, I'm trying to get like a portrait recipe that actually works. So I'm shooting a roll of portrait and kind of matching the photos that I'm taking just around the house just to see what it eventually comes out. I still don't think it's going to be quite the same. It's too like pin sharp and everything, but like it's quite an interesting little experiment.
Do you develop your own film?
Black and white, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but not the color.
No, because that, I mean, I think that's kind of the wild card in there. When you talk about matching them, like once you develop on your own, like, you know, the human element completely, it almost makes it impossible to get the exact result you're looking for. You can get, I'm sure you can make a system to get you consistent results, but that'd be interesting.
It depends on the equipment you've actually used and what, like, you know, we could all shoot a roll of Portra 400, but
exactly
3 cameras, 3 different lenses, 3 different like conditions of where we are, they are going to look different, even though you're using the same film stock, right? But
yeah, I mean, and if part of the way I think I've talked about this before, I'm not sure where, but like, again, going back to cooking, the way I cook is, you know, I know what's in my pantry and I know what I've bought, and then I get after it. There's no recipe. There's just techniques, and there's like ideas and flavors, and you know, I make a mess. I do my thing, and it tastes great. Obviously, you have to follow some chemistry when you're developing film and doing darkroom stuff, but like I don't measure temperature for chemicals very often, whether I'm printing or developing. I don't, like, when I'm mixing things together, sometimes I'll eyeball stuff. Like, I just cut a lot of different corners, and I feel like at that point it gets even crazier because you really, like, even within my own technique, I'll get all kinds of variation just because of, like, one day I was super lazy or the next day I was like not. It really depends. Like, there's so many variables that you can play with, and if you're like me, you're going to deal with those variables a lot.
I guess the rules are there to be broken, right?
or ignored or laziness.
Ignored completely. Yeah.
I would love to say that I had some like master plan where I'm like, no, I'm going to change X variable because of this theory and that calculation. That's not what's happening. It's just me being lazy.
You science.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I do the same thing when like I was developing, you know, you can develop like 2 roles at the same time in the thing, and I'll look it up and be like, this one is 6 minutes and this one is 7 minutes, and or whatever, like, well, they're going in together. Or I'll just shoot another roll of film and I'll be like, oh, I'll just push it to 400 so I can develop it, so I can develop 2 at once. But then I realize I've messed the timing up, and I'll put them all in. They always come out fine.
Yeah.
I've never gone, damn it, you know, I left that in way too long or whatever. It's like, there's been times where I've exposed it incorrectly, like, but the developing side of it, same with food. Like I brought a bread maker, and I was told, like, you've got to be so accurate with the result, with the ingredients, like, so. And I was like, yeah, I don't think you do. And pour stuff in. Again, never had a loaf of bread come out badly from it.
There you go.
So I was like, I'll apply the same thing to developing film, and it's not failed so far. Because I've done things wrong, but
of course.
The developing it, I'm like, yeah. But color, probably a different story.
It's great you mentioned that, because I think one of the reasons I jumped into doing all this stuff by myself right away is that, like, I was almost mad at like everyone who was like, no, you got to follow everything to the T, and if you can't do this is going to come out wrong, and blah blah blah. And I was like, I'm gonna show them. And then what I realized is, like, this whole analog process it's very resilient, and it's also like very flexible in a lot of ways. You don't have to be a perfectionist or have every piece of equipment in order to get things done. There's some basic things that you can't mess up, but beyond that, like, you're good to go. And then the beauty of it is, if you decide that you like this other weird way of doing things, you can repeatedly do that weird thing over and over and over again. Make it part of your process. Make it a choice. Be intentional about it. I love that a lot, and I think that's where the two processes again come together very closely. Like food and the photography stuff, you can really just like get after it and do some weird shit, and it'll still taste good, or your photos will still look decent. And once you decide that, I like that weird shit, then you can start doing it on purpose,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like even if you go out with, like, it's the same with making videos, I guess, as well. Like you can go out with a set idea, but then if something else presents itself in front of you, or you end up diverting slightly and doing something else. That's the beauty of it. You get beautiful mistakes, and that's the same in the actual results of the photographs, but also with whatever you're doing in life, right? Like you might accidentally put the wrong seasoning in the food that you're cooking. Do you know what I mean? Like I did it earlier. I put some teriyaki sauce in my stir fried rice instead of soy sauce. Did it really make a huge difference?
It tasted better.
Yeah. So, but it didn't bother me. But then all of a sudden, I've got like a new little recipe that I've made. But do you know what I mean? There's different ways of looking at it, isn't there? But I think that comes across in your videos as well. And I think that's why, me personally, that's why I'm drawn to your videos, because they feel, even though you're kind of touching on lots of different kind of subjects, or you're covering lots of different areas, they're still purely from your point of view. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's relatable in a lot of ways. So I can watch your videos and be like, this is exactly what Ribsy thinks about it. And also you're not putting any pressure on the viewer to say, you should be doing it this way. It's like, just go and have fun. This is what I've learned from that, and this is what I can tell you about that, which I think is a good thing.
That's key. Honestly, part of it is genuine, like everything you just described. The other part of it is, I know the internet, like, people like to slaughter each other, and especially, film photography has this problem. There's a lot of people who just like, they're very confident in the knowledge they have, and maybe rightly so, but when they see an opportunity to jump in there and like make it known that they know everything and that you don't, they're gonna do it. And they're going to do it like aggressively in some cases, or in some cases going to be dicks, like who knows. But I'd rather just like almost avoid that, or half invite it. Like sometimes I'm just like, hey, I don't know how this works, YouTube. Like, you tell me in the comments, and people get after it. But yeah, I just know better. Like, first of all, I know that I don't know everything. I know, whatever fraction of the total knowledge of film photography, having only been doing this for a couple years. So that's just first and foremost, like it's just self-awareness. But then the other part is like, I don't want to make it too easy for the, the know-it-alls to jump in there and like get after me. But you can't control it anyways. That's just how it works.
Fuck 'em.
No, listen, as long as they comment, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, it's film photography needs to chill out. And I think naturally that's part of what I bring to it. Like, I like doing it. I'm having fun and I like what I'm doing. I have my own standard for myself, but everybody needs to decide what the line is for themselves. Because not everyone's going to be some famous photographer. Not everyone's going to be a pro making money. The fact is the majority of us are just doing it because we like it. And maybe we find some growth and we find some skill and kind of harvest it and, try to, nurture that a bit.
Yeah. And one of the questions I had, to be fair, I thought we might have spoke about it at the start, but we kind of rolled off, which is good. But so are you originally from New York?
Yeah. I'm born and raised in New York City. I'm from uptown Washington Heights.
Oh, nice. And how long have you been in the UK for?
Now it's been over 2.5 years, so not too long, but I feel like I know a thing or two about London.
Yeah, more than us, mate. So maybe more than me, definitely. You lived in London, didn't you?
Yeah. I lived there until about 5 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
I wondered if you'd got into photography whilst living in the UK, or whether that was something you had a passion for whilst living in New York.
Yeah, in New York. So officially, I got into it when I was in New York. And it actually connects back to the whole Canon digital camera stuff, because I have a bunch of lenses that I've had for my digital stuff, and then I don't know how, but I eventually came across something that like the old Canon EF cameras for film, the old SLRs, they all use the EF lenses, and you get full autofocus and everything. And I was like, shit. Like maybe I should just buy a film camera. And I went online and the EOS 650, I don't know why that was the one I found, but I found that one and it cost $20 on eBay. And I was like, done. And I was going on holiday right around then. So I brought it with me. That was actually to Spain. And listen, this is how ridiculous it was. I didn't know shit. I was just like, I'll bring a film camera. I went to my, that's literally what I was thinking. I went to my local film shop, which is actually a really high-end print shop in Manhattan at the time. And I was like, yeah, let me get some film. They're like, what do you want? And I was like, I don't know.
Film. I said film.
and I was like, all right, give me that one. I'm literally pointing at stuff. I ended up buying slide film.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I listen, nowadays I shoot literally zero slide film. I think it's cool, but it's just not something I'm interested in at all. I was only shooting slide film when I started because I didn't know what I was doing. And the best part is I go back to the shop after the trip and I'm like, yeah, it's time to get these developed. And the dude's like, all right, well, do you want the E6 process or do you want to do something different? You want C41? I was like, I don't fucking know. What does that mean? And he's like, well, they're different.
Photos, please.
Exactly. And he's like, no, they're different chemistries. And like, the one is like the more classic thing to do, but you can cross process. I'm like, bro, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I was like, here, just take my money because you know how much I paid to develop each one of these rolls? Scan, low res scan. I didn't even know that there were low res scans, but it was definitely a low res scan plus develop and cut and all that stuff. It was like $23 per roll.
Wow.
So which is insane.
Pounds?
Yeah. Because it was slide.
Yeah. And also I think this shop was just it's on 23rd Street in Manhattan. Like the rent's too high, they had to make their money somehow. But anyways, I did all this shit. And then on top of that, I get the slides back. And I'm like, wait a minute. These are pictures. Like, I thought it was supposed to be a negative. Like, what the hell's going on? I literally do nothing, man. So I jumped in there, did all this random shit. But the photos came out good because I know photography. I know how to like compose and, find and use my lenses and stuff. But then from there, I was kind of dabbling here and there. I do something cool. I was like, yeah, let me bring a film camera because that's like the cool, like, hipster thing to do. And when I moved to London, that's when things progressed very quickly. I didn't know, I have coworkers in London that I knew beforehand, but I didn't really know anybody else. So somehow, some way, I saw that there was some like film camera meetup in London. London Camera Project is the name. Yeah. And I was like, man, you know what? Like, we got to get out and meet some people. And I was like, I got this camera, still the EOS 650, the only camera that I had. And I was like, all right, let's go. So I go, I meet all these people, I see all these cameras. And I'm like, oh, wow, like this is a thing. Like there's a community of people. And it was, I think the best part about it was that it was a very, I'm not gonna get heat for this, but I feel stupid saying this. It was a very diverse set of people, and it wasn't diverse in many ways, but age-wise, it was diverse. There was people younger than me, there's people my age, people older than me. And I thought that was interesting because my experience with like photography, like scenes in New York, it was usually like skewing a little bit on the younger side, and it was all gear. It was all like megapixels and like everybody had a 24 to 70 lens, and I was like, man, like this shit is weird. With the London Camera Project stuff, it wasn't that at all. People had like TLR cameras, which I didn't even know what the hell that was, and I was like, man, this is cool. And there was a good vibe, and of course, you know, you hit the pub, it was all good. So long story short, once in London, that's when things really started to snowball really fast. The first thing that happened was I just kind of started buying new cameras and learning about new cameras and hanging out with these people more. And then I was like, all right, well, I'm going to do photography and shoot more film than digital. I kind of mixed the two up. And then that went on for like a year. And then eventually I was like, all right, I'm going to start a YouTube channel because I feel like I'm learning things. And
you got to know people through, through the London Camera Project, and,
exactly.
branched off into meeting new people.
Exactly.
New to here.
Yeah, it felt natural for me to like start just documenting the learning process, just because I was meeting people while I was learning. And you watch other people's YouTube videos. I'm like, well, maybe I could do that too. So yeah, I guess to answer your question in that very long way, everything really like ballooned here in London. And it was definitely because of the community. If I hadn't found that community to begin with, I probably wouldn't have gotten to the level that I'm at now. I would have still been doing photography, and I probably would have been shooting some film too, but I wouldn't be like this kind of film obsessed person. The community really helped nurture that.
Yeah, but that's quite to go from like 2-3 years ago to not knowing what it was at all to creating your own film now and launching all of that. That's quite a big thing to do in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's amazing.
How long have you had your YouTube channel then? Only a couple of years?
February of 2010. So a year and, I don't know, what's that, 5 months or something?
2020.
Sorry, 2010. 2020. Yeah. It's no more than a year and a half. I would say a year and 5 months, something like that.
You went all in then when you first started it.
Well, I mean, it was convenient enough that like we didn't have anything better to do after March, The pandemic really did help create the time, because then I was like, well, people are watching this stuff. There's all these experiments I want to do. Plus, I started printing at home. I was like, let's just go all in on YouTube until the world reopens again and see what happens. Yeah. And by July of that year, I think that's when I hit 1,000 subscribers. And I was like, shit, 1,000 people care enough to watch this stuff? Like, okay.
Wow. That's really
that's great, because I must have started following you, or discovered you, should I say, maybe towards the end of last year, because I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Because me and Luke kind of, we've known each other for a while, and we kind of reconnected through photography, and then, a bit of time went past, and we started discussing what we can do with front and stuff. What is now front, and that was at the start of this year, wasn't it? I'd say, Luke, or maybe over Christmas.
Well, when we started doing front,
or when we started talking about what we could do.
That when we just beginning of this year. But you were one of the first guys that I told Luke about that. When you're chatting to people, you're like, oh yeah, I was like, oh yeah, I know this. I don't know you, but I was like, I follow this dude on YouTube. Like, you should go check him out, sort of thing. And he was one of the first people. But nice. I just assumed you'd been on YouTube for 45 years. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Since day one.
It's funny. I was telling my wife earlier. I was like, man, I love the progression I've made in my YouTube videos, just because like you tie in one thing up, one small thing every video, you kind of keep going and going. And then you then look back and it's like, holy shit, like this what I do now looks very different and feels different from what I used to do. So I'm excited. Like, I have no idea what's coming next, but it is interesting to kind of progress through that year and a half of doing stuff on YouTube.
But at least you can say that you've hand on heart progressed, and you've learned, and you've challenged yourself in that time, which is probably the main reason why you've gained a following and people are liking your stuff, because you're honest about it.
Yeah.
Have you got to that point yet where you've watched like an early video back and you're like, what was I doing? Do you know what I mean?
I'm honestly kind of afraid to go back, and not so much because of the visuals and both, because it is what it is. But I know I just raw knowledge about like film photography. I have so much more of it now than I did a year and a half ago. And I'm just curious, like what ridiculous stuff I was saying, like in those first 15 videos or something. Yeah, I that's what I'm most worried about, is that like I just talking over myself, saying completely like useless or incorrect stuff.
Well, it's funny you say, because I think we've been doing the podcast nearly I want to say 6 months.
Yeah.
6 months, which is crazy. But the podcast was kind of like the first thing we did, like in terms of like any kind of video or audio. And I appreciate people are listening, but obviously we record them.
Yeah.
But I actually watched back our first podcast the other day, and the only reason I did that is because it's kind of all about fun and what we're working on.
Sure.
And I said to Luke, I was like, I think we need to do like an update, because we've had we've had a lot of new followers, a lot of people asking questions, and we don't want to keep sending people to one old video, because things are changing.
Sure,
I know we haven't kind of launched yet, but there's always news and stuff. And I watched it back, and I was sitting there, and I remember saying to Luke, I was like, oh yeah, I made a note of all the things we need to talk about. When now we just it's just like, oh we'll say whatever we need to say.
But
I was sitting there like, and this is what we're doing. Like, it's cringy, but at the same time, like, I don't know, there's a sense of pride thinking,
of course, we all start somewhere.
Yeah, I remember writing a little script for us, and I had it like on my screen just underneath where the camera was. So when I was looking at that, it was like looking at the camera.
Yeah,
and
27, like
and we both had hoods on because it was so cold.
Yeah.
I mean, you could think about, like, I feel like everyone could, if everyone goes back and looks at their photos, just photography only, look at your photos from like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, you might have that same cringy reaction where it's just like, what was I doing? And at the time you probably were like, oh, this is good because of your frame of reference. Maybe you had improved then from the 2 years even before that. So I don't know. Time is such an interesting thing. And there's images that are timeless. They're amazing no matter when you're looking at them.
I think that's when you've got a good photo, like whether it's your own or someone else's, is that you do look at it for longer. Or you always are attracted to it for whatever reason. And going back to what you're saying, like, I look back at old photos and I'm like, they're terrible. But then I might find one that I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, I forgot about that. Do you know what I mean? It's nice to look back at your own work and see how far you've got from there, or see where you've changed, or see how it's similar. And going back to what we originally said at the start, everyone's got their own style. You shouldn't have to try and copy someone. It's nice to see what other people can produce.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think my best example of that is, so I told you, I did a lot of digital photography in the past. There was a phase where I was basically doing a lot of composite images for cityscapes. So I would, throw a camera on a tripod and shoot from, let's say, late golden hour into like, sometime in blue hour, the same scene, just like literally 100 images. And I'd pick out, the 2-3 that gave me the best sky, the best ambient lighting, maybe some motion blur, or light trails, whatever the case is. And I would Photoshop the hell out of that. And like, it's funny because if you zoom into just that time period, the first one I ever did of that to the last one that I did, you see an incredible progression, right? But then if you go to that last one and then you look at what I'm doing now, I'm just like, man, like, I hate that style of photography. Like, even if it was the best one that I did because I had progressed within that style, I still don't even like that style at all anymore. Like, things just change so much. It's actually kind of wild.
Yeah. I was thinking back to it because I actually used to work in like a photography studio. So I studied photography at college.
Nice.
I lost interest for years. Like, I always had an interest in photography and like film, even like video.
Yeah.
But when I worked in the studio, it made me think back to when I worked there, and I didn't know anything about like cameras. I could deal with the equipment a little bit because I worked in the studio.
Yeah.
And I kind of understood how to take a good photo, but I didn't really understand how I was taking the photo, because everything was preset, right? You just put it on the setting that you need in the studio. Yeah. It's already been set up for you, and you took a photo. But then it was all about editing, because you were editing,
exactly,
portfolio updates. So it was just all Photoshop.
Yeah.
But now I'm back into photography. It's more like, well, no, I want to understand how to take a good photo, so you don't need to touch it that much.
Exactly.
Yeah,
there's a lot of learning.
Yeah.
Never
So
stop.
I wanted to ask about the new classic, your film.
Yeah.
Like, kind of why?
There it is.
What made you? I'm not, I understand why you would want to do that, but what made you start off? Like, how did you get into? How did you do it? Why did you want to do it? Just yeah.
I think there's various layers to this. I think for me, I have an entrepreneurial itch, just like like in life. And we talked about earlier about kind of that obsessive. What was the word you used? I forget. Where you jump into something and you just kind of go all in.
I just like dive in head first into it.
Yeah. So I've had that not only with interest, but also.
I mean that in a complimentary way, like an addictive.
Oh no, addictive. That's the word.
Like something that you can't help but obsess over. Like you just want to learn all the time.
No, I totally understood it as a positive thing, but so I've had this with, like, let's say, business ideas. So not just interest, but also projects that could basically make money or build the product or something. So this isn't the first time that I've ever tried to do something. I think the key difference now is that, like, I'm part of a community, and I was like, man, like, I'm in this community, like I'm interacting with people. It's a lot of fun. What else can I do beyond just content? That would be another way to interact with people. The other thing is, like, as someone who's making all this content, I feel like there's a pressure to monetize it somehow, beyond just like the ad revenue that you get from videos and stuff. So, there's all kinds of things people do. People do merch, people do this, people do that. And I was like, well, shit, what could I do that would actually, like, potentially drive value, let's say? And you can describe value however you want. And ultimately, I was like, wait a minute, like, making a film would be a very interesting thing because, it's not just a t-shirt. It's an actual, film that you can use and create images on. And if that compels people to get out there and shoot, then, why not? And if it's associated with me some way, then why not also? So there was no kind of master plan. There was no, like, grand epiphany. It was more just like a natural progression. And then sustainability as a topic and like our climate change and all that stuff, it's just stuff that I really, like, think about a lot and care about as well. So I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, how do I try to do something that changes at least one variable of this whole equation? Yeah, no, the packaging, I think one of the easiest problems to fix in anything, no matter what product you're making, is waste, and especially plastic waste. So I was like, all right, well, what can we do? Can you change the plastic of the film itself? Can you change the little reel inside the film? There's so many different things that are made out of plastic, and some of the things, you can't avoid. Others, if you wanted to change it, you'd have to do a bigger project. The external container, like, I still haven't found a great reason for it. Some people say that it's necessary to protect the film. Some say it's like, if you're going to store your film in the fridge, it helps with the humidity and the condensation, or I don't know what. I'll admit I don't know there. If someone wants to correct me, that's fine. But I've already invested in an alternative solution, as you're aware. So, haven't had any issues because of it. But long story short, I didn't want to just do something for the sake of it. I wanted to see what value I could add, and changing the packaging is something that I could do. It had already been done by somebody else, so I knew that it had at least been tested. And we went for it. And honestly, like, there's nothing like brand spanking new happening here. Like, if anybody believes that, please stop believing that, because, I'm not lying to you and telling you that there's something brand spanking new. But I think there's an element of branding that's important in film photography, especially from a representation point of view. I have a platform now, however big or small you want to see it, and I feel very compelled to use it to help, showcase the voices of other people and to spread messages that I think are valuable to spread. Having this film is one extension of that message. It's saying, hey, film photographers, think about the waste that you're creating, and think about how film photography plays into this general problem that we have in the world. Everything has problems, and film photography probably isn't even the biggest contributor to problems, just because of the fact that the industry is so small now. But that doesn't mean it doesn't contribute. Your plastic container, if you throw it in the bin, it's probably going to go to a landfill. Worst case scenario, ends up in the ocean somewhere. That's not good, whether it's a small, tiny fraction of this bigger problem or not. So that's one part of the message. But if you look at the podcast, for example, for the brand, there's me putting people on from all over the place, from all walks of life, all styles of photography, races, genders, everything, you know? And to me, that's extremely important, because what I've realized is that film photography is global. You know, it's photography. Photography is a global thing. Film photography specifically is no different. And the people we see on the internet, the people that seem to be getting put on by the companies that are kind of running the show, they tend to fit one specific profile, and that's a white man. And that needs to change, whether it's with me, whether it's with somebody else. So this whole thing kind of comes together. No one piece is kind of the most important piece, but now I feel like I have a 360 kind of outlet here where I can utilize one part here from the film, one part here from a YouTube video, one part here on the podcast, whatever, and put out messages, and also let other people put out their messages. So that's a long-winded response, but it's a piece of the puzzle. It's not the prime aim. It's not the most important part of anything that I'm doing, but it fits kind of this overall one person movement, let's say.
No, that's, I mean, everything you say is super positive. And, you know, like you said, there's bigger problems in the world, or, you know, bigger contributors to problems that we have. But it doesn't matter. Everything, you still need to look at everything as a whole. And even the smallest thing that might not be kind of considered a problem, unless that changes, it's only going to get worse. Unless you get control, and there's still a niche of people within that kind of that little part of it. Still need to do everything they can, and we all do things like, you know, we all live somewhere, right, and we all recycle where we can. If we weren't doing that, it's like someone saying, you know, I'm not going to recycle because I'm only one house out of however millions there are.
Exactly.
But no, unless we all come together to try and do something, then there is going to be no end game, is there? Solution?
Yeah. No, we're all part of the problem, and honestly, like, to get real down and dirty with the facts, like, we live in or from countries that are the worst when it comes to all of these problems. The UK and the US, if you exclude China, the UK and the US are, not even if you exclude China, UK, China, US are like the three countries, or is the UK even a country? I don't even know. You know what I'm saying? These three global entities are responsible for the majority of the waste that's created on this planet. That's fact. I don't have the numbers, don't quote me, but
no, it is. And we also get told it's all the other countries, it's overpopulation and all this kind of stuff that's more contributing.
Exactly.
Which is not true either.
Exactly. And like, best case scenario, someone sees me talking about film, right? Someone sees, oh, you put out a film with some recycled paper packaging. They're like, oh, well, you know, I'm going to go to M&S and go buy some food. They see that there's two options of the steak. One is fully wrapped in plastic. The other one is 90% cardboard and then one layer of 10% plastic. They might think, oh shit, that's similar to Ribsy's film. You know, that the cows from the same farm, you know, I could get the same cow over here for maybe even like $1 cheaper, a pound cheaper, but this one has significantly less plastic in the packaging. I'm going to take that one. That thing that started with the roll of film now is in someone's head and could potentially play out in so many other different parts of their life. That's humongous, because that's not about photography. That's about the world. And again, that's one person, but that one person has friends, and maybe they tell their friends, oh, M&S now sells pasta that is in paper bags, which is something they do. And I buy that pasta because the other pasta comes in a plastic bag. You know, it's this knock-on effect. And I'm under no illusion that I'm changing the world in any way here, but I have an influence over people directly close to me. You know, if I can influence them, like, that's humongous. We can all influence the people immediately near us, you know?
And people want to know stuff. Let them make their own decision. But if you're telling them, if you're giving someone knowledge, people want knowledge, regardless if they agree with it or not. But let them make their own decision. But if you say it in a positive way, then why? It's infectious, right? You learn something, you get addicted to it.
Exactly.
Me and my missus, we do Gusto, you know, the food delivery thing. We haven't been doing it that long, but it's all right. Well, we're pissed off with them at the minute. They keep missing things. Look, I'm not a talented chef like yourself, Rib, but I like cooking. But Gusto's good because it gives you the ingredients you need to do these nicer meals. If you're, you know, someone who doesn't know a lot about cooking, but I'd like to think that I have a basic understanding when it comes to cooking. And Gusto annoys me because it gives me the ingredients, but I miss the creative freedom to try and whip something together out of the ingredients that I've got or the products that I've got. Gusto sent us like this week's delivery, 4 days worth of food or whatever. it pisses me off because they send individual eggs in a cardboard box.
Oh yeah, and it's one egg. It's an egg box for one egg. I see.
Yeah, it's one egg. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, that is so much waste. Like, and the thing is, the box that they deliver it in, it's all weighed down and packaged. Like, okay. So why the hell do they need to put these eggs?
They are pretty good with certain things, aren't they? Like,
they do have a lot of things loose. Yeah,
recyclable.
But the eggs, it annoys me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I'm a veggie, right? So like, eggs are like a treat to me. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
Like, I can't quite go vegan yet because of eggs and cheese, but I don't know. Like, it just annoys me. I've got to cook, and I was just like, what am I doing? Like, I could just go and buy 12 eggs. Do you know what I mean? Like, it needs to come in this box, but it makes you think. And then, like you said, it like you look at other things and think, well, why am I doing that, or why is that like that? And
exactly.
I don't know, knowledge, isn't it?
Yeah. I don't want to be a preacher, and I don't want to like be annoying, but you know, if you're gonna watch my stuff, like you watch it because it's me, right? Theoretically, well, you know, let's say 20% of the people watch it because it's me, not because they search for some specific thing. Yeah. You know, part of me is caring about some of these things just as much as it is caring about, you know, cool cameras and whatever else and food. So it's just, again, a piece of the puzzle. And, you know, we'll see what happens. Definitely got plans to do some things that may go way beyond packaging.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Nothing I can talk about just yet, but I've got plans. I've got strong itches that I'm trying to scratch, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's good. So, with this then, just, you know, for people listening who might not have a clue, where can you buy it?
Yeah. So right now, there's basically none left anywhere.
If you do want to purchase this film, you can.
You can. So there's one as of recording this right now. You know, early September, a shop in the Netherlands called Buy More Film just got a package, and the reason they just got it is because the dude went on vacation. It didn't arrive before he left. They got stuck in customs. One thing led to another. So he just got the drop. He's got a whole bunch, and you know, go check out Buy More Film in the Netherlands. So if you live in Europe, or at least if you're part of the EU, it'll be easy for you to get it pretty fast. If you're not in the EU, then, you know, you got to deal with potentially some extra hurdles, but they've got plenty. So go there. Good news is, despite us being sold out like direct, because, you know, I shipped a lot of these myself and sold them directly. And a lot of the other retailers like Analog Wonderland and Parallax and Cool Film, they're all gone. I think they're all sold out at this point. We've got another drop coming, hopefully, by early December of this year. We've already got our orders in, and now it's just a matter of hoping that nothing gets delayed, and that, you know, that there's not another like humongous wave of like pandemic stuff. Not for my own sake, because, you know, the films, it's just film. I don't want people to die and get sick. So let's just put that out there. But the point is, early December, hoping to have another drop right in time for the holiday so that people can get their fix, and then, you know, go shoot some of the holiday family stuff, because I assume a lot of people will be doing some of that. So yeah, we'll see. And then next year, you know, then we have all of 2022 for me to execute on some hopeful project. So we'll see what else happens in that year.
Well, maybe when we next catch up, you'll be talking about some of those new things.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I hope so.
No, I mean, like we've both shot a roll of this film. We got it as soon as we could through Analog Wonderland.
Nice.
I really want to shoot some more. I
didn't realise it was sold out. I mean, that's a huge achievement, right? You must be proud to say that you've created something which is now sold out, apart from one guy's shop who went on.
Yeah. No, it is. It was pretty remarkable. Part of me part of my confidence was kind of tied to the success of this, just because, you know, it's hard to not. But eventually, like, as we got really close to release date, I was like, you know what, like, worst case scenario, all the money that I've spent, I don't get back. Or worst case scenario, you know, I lose money. Like, okay scenario, I break even, and, you know, and then I have like a massive stash of film to use for myself.
You're shooting your own black and white film that no one has access to for the rest of your life, basically.
Exactly. But I think the best case scenario played out. It's funny. I set the product live, dropped, I think, a YouTube video and an Instagram reel literally at the same time, and then I went to the gym. And this was like 5:00 on like I think it was a Wednesday the 15th, I think it was, July. And I was like, all right, you know, I'm not going to open Instagram. I'm not going to check emails. I'm just going to go to the gym, get my bench press on, do some things, and then go home. And then I'll check what's going on. I'm in the gym and like in the middle of my bench press set, and my partner in the business texts me. He's like, yo, first order came through. And that was literally like, I don't know. He texted me like 5 minutes after getting to the gym. And I was like, okay. And I think the orders had already come through way faster than that. He just hadn't texted me. And I was like, all right, that's cool. And then like 10 minutes later, he's like, yo, we've got 20 orders. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. And then by the time I left the gym, he's like, yeah, I think we're at like 56. And I was like, oh shit, like that's a lot. And it had been an hour and a half, let's say, since everything was dropped. By the end of that night, or actually by the next morning, we were already like 150 or something like that. And within 2 weeks, it was all of the stock that we were selling directly, both from, because we ship from the US and the UK. I've got my stuff here and my partner's got the stuff in the US. Within 2 weeks, we were all gone. At that point, all that was remaining was the stuff we allocated to Analog Wonderland and some of the other shops. And there was a delay there as well. So it actually worked out decently because when we sold out, then they were making their stuff available. But that stuff moved pretty fast too. So and
it's like you know, you get geeks like me and Luke.
Yeah,
who wanted to buy it because we wanted to try
something new. And yeah, exactly.
Like even if we didn't know you or we didn't know the kind of backstory, it's still something new to try, and people want to try something that's new.
Exactly.
And then I'm guessing as well that, I mean, congrats. That's a huge achievement to like just to do what you do, regardless if it's sold or not. The fact that it's sold is awesome because now you've got a new batch coming or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But have you found that you've had some like good feedback from it? Because I'm guessing like, you know, when you drop a video, you just want as many eyes on it as you can. You want to create a following, but when it comes to something like film, you want honest feedback. You want you want to know if people will buy it again, right?
Yeah. So I was very transparent, or at least as transparent as I think I needed to be about what to expect from the film itself in terms of its characteristics and all that. So from that perspective, feedback, like, you know, it's almost, I'm not gonna say useless, but like the film is what it is, and I chose it specifically, and I can't change it, or at least, you know, not right now. In the future, who knows what we can do? But this is not a custom emulsion product. This isn't something that was, you know, tailor made for me. So from that perspective, like feedback is kind of mute. But what I do like is that people are enjoying the feedback that I'm getting is positive, and it's directly tied to what I told people they should expect from the film, and therefore what scenes might work, and you know, what kind of venues are good for it. And yeah, I mean, people are using it for what it's supposed to be used for. You know, it's a 400 speed film, so you can basically do whatever you want with it, but the look that you're going to get is very tailored towards certain scenarios, I would say. Things like street, potentially some landscape situations, especially if you're really trying to play up the contrast. It's just a very interesting kind of like unique looking thing. So the feedback has all been tied to that, and it's been great. Some people have had random issues, you know, with like developing it, and the recipe they thought would work didn't, or something. I think that's going to happen. You know, it's part of the process. And, you know, if you don't follow the exact instructions that we supported, if you decide to do something else, you know, there's a chance that, you know, it's not going to come out how you want it to look. But yeah, I think long story short, like feedback here is interesting because like what kind of feedback could I get that would be useful? You know, it's like the emulsion is what it is. If you don't like it, that's totally fine. But the emulsion is the emulsion, you know, it's not going to change. I think the only interesting feedback I've got that was a surprise is the film does not work in a Hasselblad X-Pan. The camera just will not recognize it and won't wind it automatically, which is very interesting. And I've corroborated this with a couple people who have X-Pan, and yeah, the X-Pan is finicky because I have a lot of automatic cameras that just do the auto wind, and they suck up whatever you put in there. It does not matter. But the X-Pan for some reason won't, which is kind of sad because, you know, X-Pan images always look really cool. So I got creative. I was like messaging with one specific customer back and forth, being like, all right, let's try this, let's try that. We were taping film leaders from other film stocks and like just trying all kinds of shit, and the X-Pan would not take it. So FY, if you have an X-Pan, don't expect to shoot it because it's not going to work.
I think it should be, if you've got an X-Pan, get another camera as well.
Exactly. Well, that's the best part is that, like, you know,
don't not buy this, buy it, get another camera as well. That's what you need.
Yeah, I'll send you a cheap camera if you need one. You know, just let me know. But yeah, no, it's been cool. This has been a lot of fun, and I'm very motivated to continue selling this product just because I personally really like this product. I think it's a really good kind of all-purpose film, and it gives you something. You know, you don't have to go in and edit. You don't really feel compelled to touch what you get after you scan it, just because there's so much already happening there, for better or for worse, depending on what you like.
Mm. Yeah, I found that developing. Yeah, I scan them in, and I haven't shown them to you, Jamie, have I?
No, I haven't seen them yet. And I think I've still got about 10 shots to shoot. It's loaded up in my Canon A1. That's
nice.
But again, I wanted to use it. Well, kind of how you used it, Luke. I've wanted to use it just as like, when I decide to go out and shoot with that camera. You know, I didn't want to just go out and blow it all in a day. I wanted to see how it would work over over a bit of time.
Yeah. The other thing is the film is like, I think it's very well priced. And based on that, my hope is that, like, if people just want to shoot because they just want to shoot, and you know, you can use this cheaper film and not feel like you're wasting money, you know, not feel like you paid so much for a roll of whatever and you're like, I need to cherish this. Not everything has to be that way, you know, especially if you're trying to improve. Sometimes you need the reps, you need to do more and more photography. So this should help people do that, considering I think this is on like the lower half of the price spectrum. And no matter what we do, I want to have something that is going to be much more affordable that people can use in this very casual way. I've used it in a casual way. I've used it for, like, you know, actual shoots that are planned. I even did some paid shoots where I was like, oh, they're going to love this, like, really aggressive film look. So I threw that in there, and like, I think it looks fantastic. But yeah, the price, I think I want it to be something that you feel you can use for whatever you want and not feel that you're wasting. And this is with rolls, you know, maybe we've got bulk stuff coming up. Like, there's different things we can do to bring that cost even further down. But yeah, I want people to shoot. I think that's ultimately, if people are inspired to shoot, whether they watch my video or whether they buy one of these rolls, or, you know, they see me on Instagram, like, that is all that it really matters. That's all that really this is all about.
About going out and shooting, but
100%.
Yeah, I think it's more than a reasonable price. And you know, if me and Luke weren't doing kind of like front and trying out different films, different cameras and whatnot, I'd go out and shoot this in a day and not feel like I've wasted money at all.
Totally.
But you know, I don't shoot as casually as I kind of want to, I guess. But that, you know, that's the UK weather, I guess, as well. That's always like weather. Weather's shit, I'm not going out. But that's why I wanted to put it in a film that's why I wanted to put it in a camera where I know I only pick it up if I'm going somewhere for a couple of hours, and I might take some photos. If I don't. If I do, I do. But at least it gets to document my life and how I see it, rather than having the pressure of making a video for it. And to me, it's more honest. But then again, like you said, it's, you know, the emotion that's in it is nothing like that's just been, you know, you're not reinventing the wheel or anything. Yeah. But I like the brand. I like the man behind the brand. Do you know what I mean? I like what it's about, which is what you want to support. It's the same with anything. The same with the clothes you wear, the shoes you wear, or, you know, the food you eat. You can't help but like what you like, and you support that, right?
Yeah, that's it. A lot of people, when I say a lot of people, I mean, like, you know, 1% at most will say, well, you know, why am I paying for something that I can get elsewhere for cheaper, or, like, you know, there's nothing new going on here. You know, what's the point? I think a lot of people just either don't understand or don't want to understand that, like, this is kind of how the world works. Like, you've got people who manufacture stuff, and then you've got brands. Sometimes they're one and the same. Most of the time they're not. And it's about how you can give value to your potential customers. Because when you buy this film, you're not just buying the film, you're buying what I'm about. You're buying, like, the content that I'm creating. You're buying the potential interactions that we might have elsewhere. You know, I'm trying to do more here than just flip film. I'm really trying to, in one way, educate. In another way, I'm trying to just, like, inspire. In another way, I'm just trying to entertain. There's so many different things that I'm trying to do here. And the film is just one way to hook somebody in. There's all these different ways to hook people in.
It's awesome. Yeah. I'm gonna say my catchphrase, which is it's 9:20. Well,
the secret question.
Yeah, so just we can finish off with that. Like,
Sure.
I've actually got another question as well, but I'll let you ask it first.
Okay. Well, is it relevant? Is yours relevant to us now, or should I ask?
Yeah,
so we just ask one question to everybody, which is like it's like desert island camera question. So if you could only have one camera, one lens, and one film for the rest of your life, what would you pick?
I mean, the film one, we're gonna have to go EZ400. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I gotta support the cause.
Yeah.
One camera. Well, it's actually, I think it's gonna be a camera combo unit, just because I don't really have a choice. But I would want a folding camera, folding medium format. Well, I guess the EZ400 is not medium format yet, but I mean, you can still shove it in there.
Yeah,
you can still shove it in there and see what happens. But I like folding cameras.
You can get an adapter, can't you, for medium format?
Exactly. Some folding cameras are finicky and they need like weight or I don't know, but you can do it for sure with at least a certain amount of them. But yeah, I think I like a folding camera. Folding cameras, they're beautiful. I think first and foremost, that's what gets me. I see a folding camera, I'm like, damn, that is a beautiful piece of work. Because you've got metal, you've got leather, you've got the bellows, which are like not just texture, but they're like, legit leather. Like it almost feels like it's alive. And yeah, so I just love them. So that alone will keep me at least feeling good on this deserted island. Yeah. And every time I see it, I'm like, oh, I gotta go use this camera. Like this thing, like if we're gonna go out, we're gonna go out like on top. So yeah, it'll keep me inspired and I guess sane.
yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah. I think that's the most important thing, isn't it? Well, no, it's not the most important thing, but it is a super important thing to have a camera that you look at and go, I want to go and use that. That's what I get from that, like Canon P. It's so nice to use, but it looks cool, and I enjoy carrying it around and stuff. So
exactly,
yeah. Awesome.
We spoke about it, didn't we, with the kind of like the Ricoh and stuff like that. Oh, in fact, I've got it. I'll show you. So I look at the Ricoh and I think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
But when I compare that to something similar to it's a Fuji.
Yeah.
If you asked random people to go, what looks better? I reckon 99% of people are going to say that.
I think so.
And you have to be inspired to pick up a camera. We've all got our individual tastes, but you have to be drawn to pick up the camera in the first place, don't you?
Totally. It's kind of it's a good and bad excuse for buying stuff. But if you're gonna buy something and it's gonna keep you happy and engaged and like active, then just do it. Because if you don't shoot, then then what's the point?
Yeah.
I mean, you can collect cameras. You can be someone who knows things and likes to collect them. People can do whatever they want. Let's just put it that way. But if you want to be inspired to shoot, buy whatever will make you inspired to shoot. Whether that's a Leica that costs mad money, or it's this lovely thing right here. This thing does not cost mad money. I get no respect for this. Nobody sees it and is like, wow, that's cool. But this thing makes me want to shoot because it gives me confidence that I'm going to get the shot that I want. And it's convenient. I enjoy it because I don't have to meter. I don't have to do anything. I just point at what I want and I'm good to go. It's not the only camera that gives me the joy, but I know it gives me that joy. So yeah, I agree.
That's an interesting one because I don't know if you two would agree with this, but the more I personally get into photography and the art of taking a good photograph, when I first got the bug and didn't know too much, I was like, no, I have to shoot manual, otherwise it doesn't count because I need to create everything from scratch. But the more I learn about photography, the easier I kind of want to make it on myself. Sometimes I've got an RB67. It's 100% manual. I love it. I love everything about it. But sometimes I just want to be able to go out and press the shutter. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I don't feel like I'm cheating anymore, which I think is a good thing.
Oh, I agree 100%. I have a roster of cameras now, and on one end of the spectrum is this. Literally everything is automatic on here. Yeah. Every single function. But then I have a Canon 7, and I also have a Canon P, which I actually haven't used at all yet. Now that I mention it, but the Canon 7 is the opposite.
By Luke.
Yeah. No, my Canon 7 is my street photography camera, and every single thing on that camera is manual. It has one of those old light meters that I don't even trust. So I don't use the light meter. I have to carry around my Sekonic, and it's a process, but I love both aspects of it. It's just a matter of like the intentionality. With street photography, I want to be quiet, and I love zone focusing because it is literally the fastest way for me to take an image. So that's why I use my Canon 7. But when I'm on vacation, remember earlier we were talking about like the casual, just kind of being in the moment. My EOS 300V is the most in the moment camera I have because I can point it very quickly, get an autofocus reading, and then boom, take the shot. And I know that I got what I wanted. 9 times out of 10, the image, whether it's good or bad, like it came out like generally looking like how I was hoping it would come out, just like from all the qualities. But yeah, every camera kind of gives you a different itch to scratch.
And have you got any, just to kind of end things off, have you got any kind of like, I don't know, words of wisdom, advice for anyone who's looking to maybe not just get into photography, but someone who's maybe looking at, I don't know, starting their own YouTube channel or I don't know, creating content outside their kind of comfort zone, I guess.
Yeah. I think I have a new tagline that I want to debut. I'm trying to work some stuff in to kind of bring some continuity to things, but the tagline is "Stay creating." And in New York, we use the word "stay" in like a slang way. It's like keep doing something. So stay creating. It means keep creating, keep working, keep executing. And I think that's important because with anything that you want to do, if you have a goal of improving, growing, getting better, getting followers, literally whatever it is, because there's different goals that people have, but I think for any of those goals, you have to remain active and intentional. And as long as you're doing the thing that you want to be doing, I think via that repetition, you will naturally start to like experience a couple of things. One is you might naturally just get better. Another is you might start to have a bit more self-awareness as you look at what you're doing and being like, oh, actually, I don't like, this series of 10 images over the last, month that I created. I don't like how, or I want to change something about it. These are harder things to realize when you don't have enough volume. And I hate to say the word volume because everything in this world now has become about volume, but even when you kind of go in the opposite direction of volume, you still have to keep being creative. You still have to be like, at least thinking about what you're doing and putting in some sort of an effort, whether it's like in the preparation or whether it's in like the learning or the actual doing. All of it involves being creative and continuing to execute. So, it's tough because people get discouraged, imposter syndrome. For film, it costs money. There's all these different things that could get in the way, but you still have to find a way to keep being engaged with whatever it is you're trying to do. So yeah, stay creating. It's that simple.
I like that. Stay creative. We can name the podcast that. We don't have to worry about thinking of the name.
There you go.
We can steal it. Yeah.
Definitely use it. Like I said, I'm trying to get that out into the world now. So, all yours.
But yeah, well, thank you for your time, mate. We really,
of course.
Really, and we look forward to catching up again. If you're happy to, we'll catch up again. 2022, big year for you by the sounds of it.
Let's do it, man. I'm totally down.
Stay creating.